What?
Okay, should we start over?
No, just get to the good stuff. You're dragging it out. This isn't a 40-minute movie about us.
I know. Okay, so 2005. I started college. Daniel had been in college for a year. Yes?
Yeah, I started in 2004.
Okay. Do you want to tell this part or do you want to do it?
Which part? We're starting from the beginning?
Yeah, just the last FM part.
Okay. I was part of a website community called Last.fm, which collects all the music you play on your computer and compiles it into nifty little charts, and then connects you with other users who have the same music taste as you. And at the time I was starting up a group on the site, and they were called Indie Asshats. And I was going around to everybody who popped up with very similar music tastes as me, and asking them if they want to join. Probably more likely than not targeting anyone who had a cute girl as their little icon avatar.
The truth comes out.
Not to be, you know.
You were 19.
Yeah, I was 19. That's still fair. That's fair until you're like
40.
35? Yeah.
Whatever.
So, I sent a message to Melissa, and she replied, and we realized we had a lot in common, obviously musically, but eventually, as we kept in contact, we realized that we had the same job, that we had the same major, that we were both studying design, and yeah, we kept in touch, sometimes more frequently than others, but especially at the beginning there. Kids yelling out in the street.
Messing up our recording.
Yeah, running through our yard. Oh, that reminds me, we need to set the sprinkler.
Do you want to turn the sprinkler on?
We'll do it. I'll do it in a second. You can say some stuff.
Okay. We would keep in touch we'd at least get in touch with each other once a year, I'd say. Usually, probably right around finals time. One of us or both of us would send each other a message and give the other an update on what was going on in each other's lives, and so it was kind of sporadic. But I mean, for me, it was more like we knew each other in real life, and then I was just keeping tabs on you through technology, I guess. Like, I never felt like it was weird being your friend and never having met you in real life, because I felt like I knew you really well.
But, fast forward. 2009. August.
So, in August of 2009, I was starting my 5th year of college, my last year for my BFA, and I also double majored. 5 years.
Okay, fair.
So, so I was starting my 5th year of school, and we used to be friends in LiveJournal. Well, I guess we still are, but we don't really utilize that so much. You still use it for certain things, but so we were friends on LiveJournal, and some point in college, I decided that LiveJournal was for high schoolers, and which is just the way it was where I grew up. Mostly high schoolers used it, and then once you got out of high school, you stopped using it. It was like one of those things. Like, I had to find a grown-up way to blog. And so one of my good friends, Daniel, had decided that Tumblr was where it was at.
Because it was.
And that was like, what, 3 years ago? 2 years ago?
I've had my Tumblr over 2 years now.
Okay.
So I started mine in 2008.
Yeah, so right around the time I was looking for a new blogging site, I noticed you switched. And then I signed up for one, and I posted a few things, and then I forgot it existed. Daniel didn't forget it existed.
I was pretty into it.
He might think that I didn't ever go to Tumblr, but I did, because I would go and look and see what people were up to on Tumblr, including you. And, but I didn't really post anything. So, up until this last August, when I started school again, I felt like using a site like Tumblr would be a good way for me to find inspiration and maybe get some feedback from people, creatively and otherwise. So, so I started posting more, and I saw one of Daniel's posts, and I commented on it, and I said, like, hey, I miss you, I haven't talked to you in a while, we should talk, because, like, we talked on the phone one time a while back, but most of our correspondence had been email up to that point. And I had sent him a really long email the semester previous to that, giving him an update on my life, and I hadn't really heard from him, so I was like, hey, I wonder what he's up to, I wonder what's going on with him, how he's doing, because I knew he had graduated, and in that message that I sent him, I even was like, hey, I don't know if you graduated already, but if you did, congratulations, etc. So I wanted to see how that was going and what he was doing with his life, and so then we set up a time to talk.
And then we did?
For 5 hours. And then...
Which I don't do. I never talk to anyone on the phone. Ever. Ever.
Not even...
Ever.
No. No one.
No.
I know this now. I've seen it firsthand.
Nah. Mm-mm. And then the night after that, we talked on the phone for 3 hours, and then a couple hours the night after that, and this sort of continued, and yeah.
I was really nervous about it, but I decided to ask Daniel to work on a collaborative art project with me that I had the idea to do for a while. And it occurred to me that Daniel would be the perfect candidate for this kind of project because he's very interested in modern art and in performance art, in art that is more than just an object or a final piece even. It's more about the process. So the idea was something that I thought of while attending Art Basel Miami in 2008. And basically the idea was to have a correspondence that had like a small set of rules. And Daniel agreed to do that with me, and the project started. We intended to come up with a way better name. The project was a working title, and it worked.
Which became the title.
Yeah, and it was a working title, so we just went with it. But both of us went into it with our own perception of what we thought it was supposed to be and what we individually wanted it to be. And I think that both of us...
Which is something that was just ingrained.
Yeah.
That just happens, I think, being a designer, you have to have, like, everything's about having a clear vision. And so we're like, oh, we're going to do an art project. There's only going to be a few rules. And then each of us sort of constructed our own concept of it then on our own. But one of the rules was you don't talk about the project outside of the project.
In the project, all it was we would send each other pieces through the mail. It was supposed to be within 72 hours or something, which I don't know where that number came from, but it was ridiculous, and I made it up, but I don't know what I was thinking. But all it had to include was something written. It didn't have to be written by you, but there had to be a written aspect and then something that wasn't written. The visual
or like an image aspect.
Or auditory, whatever, something else. So it seemed like it wouldn't be an issue to not talk about it at all at the beginning. Like, I was like, oh yeah, whatever, it won't be a thing. But, and that was, I think that the intention behind that was that I wanted it to be about a different way of communicating that we overlook now. A lot of people don't send mail or even postcards really anymore because it takes too long, it's archaic. We have cell phones and email and cell phones that do email, all kinds of crazy stuff, and you lose the personal aspect, and that was something that I was really interested in. And I mean, we were spending hours talking on the phone, and I thought, well, yeah, and I'd like to get to know Daniel better, and this will be a good way to have like a personal, a physical thing, I guess. A way to...
Like really like tangible sort of communication.
Right.
But we were still talking on the phone almost every night. Yeah, like every night.
Yeah, I think there were only a couple of days.
So there was this real intense relationship that was being formed, and then at the same time there's this parallel relationship, and they weren't allowed to cross, but of course there were parts of them that were sort of, without being said, bleeding into one another. And one thing about the project was that we set out these rules, and we were trying to make it, I think, sort of non-traditional, even though we realized that we were going to be pursuing a very traditional art form for communication. And yet we still fell into this very traditional trapping of, like, it was a letter with stuff. It was like every one of our packages, which is actually just something that sort of hit me just now. Like, every mailing was a letter plus stuff. And so it's like, instead of being like, here's an image with a bunch of weird words that I wrote on it or something like that, the writing portion was always still really intensely like personal and direct. And I think my original like idea of it was something way more abstract, and yet, but then I just ended up following her lead after she sent the first package, and things sort of just fell into a pattern after that. But it was what it was supposed to be, so it's not. Right. It wasn't wrong.
And another one of the rules was that we had to photograph what we sent the other person.
Document.
Yeah, you had to document it in some way, and then we weren't allowed to show. We weren't allowed to show the way that we were like the way that looked to the other person. It was. So each of us had our own perspective on the project from the other. Each of us had our own individual view on it, which is a metaphor for relationships. Because no matter how much you talk between you and anyone, any relationship you have in your life, it doesn't matter how well you communicate. There's always going to be things that you don't understand from the other person's perspective because you're an individual and so are they. So I felt like that was a really that was something that I intended when it began. That actually happened. It didn't happen in the way that I envisioned it from my side of the project. And after I think. Only after one round of mailings, I mailed you something at the beginning of September, and then you sent me something back mid-September, and then I booked a flight to Fresno.
No, it was the first week that we spoke on the phone. She booked a flight to Fresno.
Okay. Excellent.
it's like a really extreme game of that children's game of telephone, but we're only two people, and that's every relationship though.
Right.